Hello, hello. This is Kenny Perkins, aka your cancer guy. And once again, we always come to you with another phenomenal guest. And today, we're not even short of that, right? We've come to bring you a guest all the way from Canada, right? And let me tell you, this next guest, she is a fighter, she is a warrior, she's sentimental, and she's always thinking on how she can help others and empower others, and that's the part that we love about her, and I know that you're going to love her too. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about how does someone get through a diagnosis, right? I mean, it's a shocking thing when it happens. It can be overwhelming. Your mind is spinning out of control. So how do you find balance? Where do you get it from? Right? How do you see light at the end of the tunnel? Right? What are some of the things and gems that you can utilize that this next guest utilized that you can take away and utilize on your cancer journey? This is what we're getting to. We're going to get into. This is what I'm bringing you phenomenal guests so that you don't have to feel alone on this journey. Again, here we are bringing our next guest all the way from Canada. We're bringing in Harjeet Kaur. And I hope I didn't
Thank you,
butcher.
Kenny. No, you did it. You did amazing. Thanks for, having this conversation. And you're right that cancer hits differently to different people, right? And it's difficult to see a light afterwards when you're done with the treatment, and then you always have a question, what's next? And in my case, I was an immigrant to Canada. I migrated to Canada in 2018, and the diagnosis came in 2019. So within a year, my life just flipped upside down. You know, coming to a new country, having your dreams of having a new job, having a good career, having a life, having a family, but didn't things were not in the same way which I wanted. And 2019 May, I started having symptoms, which was just fevers, and the fevers kept on going for almost 3 months, and they were high fevers. And every time we used to end up to emergency or to a family doctor, I was told that it's a viral or a flu, and just take Tylenol and it will, be better. And almost 3 months we waited for an answer, and we advocated with the health team to get more scans and tests. So things are different in Canada as compared to other part of the country. And so I had to go to emergency visits. I had to wait for 6, 8 hours to get inside and get the blood work and get the things done. But every time we got the blood work or any other things done, it always used to come negative. There was no answers to my fever. And we kept on advocating. And finally, I was admitted to the hospital in June, where I was, given some other tests and scans. And since then, since June until August, I was in hospital. I was treated as a research patient where no one knew what's going to happen and what's going on with my body, because I was just showing symptoms that were fevers. And on top of it, I started having chills and ulcers. So finally, they did some testing. They did CT scan, MRI, biopsies, laparoscopy, colonoscopy. Nothing came out from that. And we just, it was difficult for us, for me and my husband, to manage everything. He was working. I was in the hospital to take care of me, to work. So it was so overwhelming for each of us that we reached out to our family back home and asked my mom to come and help me because I was in hospital. I was completely bedridden. I was in hospital. I had high fevers. I couldn't do anything. And on
So
20,
so
yeah,
where was home? You said you reached back at home. Where is home?
so India is my home country. So I moved to Canada from India. So that's my hometown, my home country where I've been born and raised. So because we moved to a new country, being an immigrant, navigating through the health issues and the problems, it was too much challenging for both of us to manage. I was not working. Because I was sick, I was off from work and he was still working, and me being in hospital and taking care of me and working. So it was so much for him. So we wanted my mom to come to Canada so that she can be, a caregiver and take care of me. Because we didn't had any answer. Why is this fever coming from? What's happening? We didn't had any clue. And meanwhile, during this time, we were also, just having a second opinion from my family doctor back home in India. We were making sure that, we are on the right path of, going what's happening in my body. And no answers as usual. And then finally, my husband thought that he'll take me back to India because we were not getting any answers in Canada. And everybody was saying that it's a viral or a flu. And we don't know what's going on with her. And we have done so many multiple tests and scans and biopsies on her, but we don't know yet. So at that time, I was treated as a research patient, honestly. I felt like, that no one had any answer what's going on. And that time, my husband thought that he'll take me back to India. But the doctors rushed into the room and they said that they want to do one more biopsy on me. And I was like, I don't want to get anything done. I had too many surgeries, I had too many scans, I had biopsies, and I don't want another poke in my body. And, I don't know what's going to happen next. So I was against it. But my husband and my family doctor back home in India, they suggested that I should go for another biopsy. And this would be a last biopsy. And then we can plan my trip to India so that I can get treated and we can get answers to what's happening. So they did the skin biopsy, and 27th August, I was getting my discharge papers from hospital. My husband was my complete support that time because I was not in a condition to talk, to do anything, because I was so sick by that time. And the discharge papers were getting ready, and my husband went to see my family doctor that how we can take Harjeet to India because it's 24 hours flight. She's getting high fevers, she's getting chills. How we can take her safely to India with this condition. And that time, the doctor rushed in, and I remember I was lying down in the bed, and my mom was just packing the stuff, and she said, "Harjeet, we got the diagnosis, and it's subcutaneous panniculitis T cell lymphoma." And honestly, at that time, I asked her, "What is it? What the hell is it? Can you explain?" Then she said that it's stage 4 blood cancer and it's rare and you're really sick and we need to start the treatment ASAP. At that time, when she said that you have cancer, I was going completely numb. I didn't have anything to say or react to. And when she mentioned these 3 words, I could see my mom next to me, like she had tears in her eyes. And I could feel if I melt down anyway, she will just, break. And I just wanted to keep that strong face. And I asked her questions and I said that I need to reach out to my husband. And she's like, "You don't have much time left, and we would suggest you to start the treatment. So we're waiting for your husband, and as soon as he's here, we need to put a pick line and start the chemotherapy, and the oncologist will be coming to see you." I just listened to her. I was just completely numb because I felt that it's 3 months and I'm at stage 4. And until now, there was no diagnosis, there was nothing. I had so many questions in my mind that time that I was planning to go back to India. And now they came up with this news. So I just called my husband. I didn't wanted to tell him on call that it's stage 4. I just said that we got the diagnosis, you need to come back. It's cancer. And he just rushed to the hospital and he spoke to my doctors over there and he asked them like how much time we have, because at that time, at that moment, we wanted to discuss this with our family doctor back home in India too. We just wanted to make sure the diagnosis is correct, there's nothing wrong in it, because the plan was to go back to India and get myself treated there, and all of a sudden the doctor said that it's stage 4 and we need to start the treatment. So we just had so many questions that we wanted to do the clarity. So my husband reached out and said that how much time we have. The doctor said that we need to start the treatment today itself. I mean, so we just asked them that can we get a couple of hours just to discuss? And she said, yeah, that's fine because we are 12 hours behind from India. So we were waiting for my family doctor back home in India to get up so that we can ask him. And my husband reached out to them and they said that the prognosis report says exactly the same it is. And she's really sick to come home and get the treatment here because by the time she'll come home, we might not have that time. So she's in a better place to get the treatment and start the treatment ASAP. And yeah, the next day, 28th August, I was asked to start the chemotherapy, and the doctors just explained us the process. I was quiet. I didn't had any clue what's going on, and my husband was doing all the talking, and he was just understanding everything. I just felt that at the age of 32, my life just flipped, and I don't know what will happen next. It's stage 4, and honestly, being belonging to a South Asian community where cancer is not much talking about, and I knew what will happen. And all of a sudden, I just had these questions in my mind that it's stage 4, it's rare. I don't know if I'll survive this. And at that time, we just started the treatment, and the oncologist came in and he explained that my cancer is rare and it's complicated with the situation which is called HLH, which is an autoimmune disease. So we will be trying our best to give you the best regimen of chemotherapy. It would be aggressive and hard, but we will try our best because it's rare and there are not much cases reported globally.
So let me ask here, here we're talking about, I mean, it's a lot. And so for those that are listening, it's quite a bit. We jumped right into it. You went right into Canada and then came in with having these symptoms. Prior to these fevers that you were going through or, experiencing, what was your health like before? You coming being so young, 32 at that point, and how long were you married at that time?
Um, 2016. So it was just 6 years.
6 years
Six
married.
years. Yeah, 6 years married, and I didn't had any issues. I was healthy when I came to Canada. No other changes, and fever is something which is very common, right? I mean, you get fevers, you feel that your body has a virus or a viral or a flu, right? And you get over with it 1 week or 2 weeks, but it went on up to 3 months, and we kept on saying that it's something else, it's something else, and since my blood work and not any of the other reports showed anything after having laparoscopy, colonoscopy, breast biopsy, bone marrow biopsy, and surgeries, they didn't got anything from my reports, right? So that's why it was so rare and aggressive. And when I was diagnosed, I remember the oncologist mentioned this thing that, it's rare and we don't have much study about this type of cancer. And, your symptoms didn't show us the sign of cancer or sign of lymphoma. So that's the thing. And strangely, when I started the treatment, the chemotherapy, after two chemotherapy, I started having some symptoms of lymphoma. I started having these lymph nodes, which was purple in color. My skin started changing, showing some change. And my oncologist mentioned it's so rare, and your body is reacting very differently to the chemotherapy, and like these symptoms should have been shown earlier, but it's showing later on after chemo treatment. So after three chemos, I remember I was just quiet, as I mentioned before. All those time, I was just like a robot who was just asked to do this and do that, and I was just doing like go for a chemotherapy, take medication, do that, and my mind was not working at that time at all, at all. I was completely quiet, and I was in that zone where I didn't know what's happening. I just felt like it's over. We're just trying our best to fix it, but it's not gonna happen. And I had a good support. My family, my mom was here already, my brother was here in Canada, and my dad flew from India as soon as he got the news. So the breaking the news was one of the biggest thing within my family, and it was all done by my mom and my husband, and they did tell my dad and my extended family back home that this has happened. And I'm really close to my dad, so I didn't want to talk to him about it. And I could see, or I could feel that, if I talk to him, I might just burst out or I might cry, and I'll not be able to handle it. And he just flew to Canada, and he was here for my second chemo. And then I had some close friends who came to see me and who were here in Canada. So I had a very touch with very strong support at that time, who were taking care of me, who were taking me for the chemo, providing me food and everything. And after 3 months of chemo, after three chemotherapy, we were asked to come to hospital. And and my oncologist sat with me and my husband, and he said, Harjeet, what's your appetite? And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, I want to know, what's your appetite? What do you want to do? And I just remember those words saying him that, I want to live. And that's it. I just said that I want to live. He said, I give you two options. One is we keep on trying different chemotherapy till the time your body takes the chemo. Second option is to go for a stem cell transplant, which will give you a little life longer, as your cancer is really rare and we don't have much of the cases, and we are trying our best to save you. So these are the only options I have for you. So at that time, my husband said, okay, we'll go back and discuss about it. We went back home. I just went inside the room. I didn't want to talk to anyone. And I cried. I cried a lot. And I didn't want to cry in front of everyone. And I just felt that it's done. My life is over. We're just trying our best to save me by trying different things. But I don't see a light. I don't see that green light. And I remember everybody was talking outside, and they just decided that we'll go for a stem cell transplant. So in our community or in our culture, the decisions are not made by you, it's made by everyone who are surrounded by you. So my husband, my mom, my dad, my family sat and they spoke to my family doctor back home in India too. And everybody decided that we need to do the stem cell transplant. And yeah, so we next day we went to see my oncologist and we told him, he said, okay, we look for a donor. And luckily my brother, he was my donor and he was in Canada. So they did a couple of testing on him and he was 100% match. So that was a good thing because I remember my oncologist saying that, that's really rare to have 100% match of a stem cell donor. So that's how the plan changed for my treatment. They said that we have to do aggressive chemotherapy on you to make you into a partial remission to start the new treatment on you.
So what was
Till
that?
then,
What was involved in the aggressive chemotherapy treatments?
so so I know that when the first day they gave me a chemo, it was a red devil. That's what the nurse said, that it's a red devil, and it was a very painful. I could feel the pain in my veins when it was given to me. And I had side effects of nausea and sleeping, and I could not eat and the worst part was I used to still get fevers. So there were times when my chemo was extended or postponed because I was still getting fevers after chemotherapy. I was still going to emergency every 2 weeks or 3 weeks because I used to get high fevers. So that's how the plan was changed to give me a new chemotherapy to see if I can put into a partial remission, because the course of stem cell transplant was to make sure that my cancer is into a partial remission to start the new treatment. December 2020 happened. December 2019, it was Christmas and I was home and I finished that year, that chemotherapy regimen, that six chemos for that period of time. And then the next plan was to start another chemotherapy from Jan 2020. And December end to Jan first week, I started having this blurry vision on my right eye, and we were not sure what's happening. And I one day I woke up and I told my husband that I can't see from my right eye. And he said that we'll take you to the emergency. And I went to the emergency, and the ophthalmologist over there said that we think that lymphoma has gone to the eye. And he said, we need to do a biopsy and we need to see if there is a lymphoma in your right eye. And at that moment, when he said that it's lymphoma in the right eye, I was like, I'm done. I think I can't take this anymore. I mean, I'm already going through so much, and I'm preparing myself for a next treatment. And now they are saying that there is a lymphoma in my right eye. And I I didn't knew what to do. And it was the same thing. Like, I was worried. What if it's a lymphoma? And what's my next plan? Like, what would be the next plan to do? And finally, after 6 days, the result came in, and they said that it's CMV retinitis, which is a virus, which can happen to anyone. But because my body was so immunocompromised because of the chemo treatment, that I caught that infection, and it has affected my right eye. And because that virus is still active, it can damage my left eye vision too. So they wanted to treat that first, along with the chemotherapy, which was planned for Jan 2020. I still remember it was a tough month for me, like Jan and Feb, because I used to get every week injections on my right eye to protect the virus to go to my left eye. And then 1 week injection, 1 week chemo, 1 week injection, 1 week chemo. It went on like that. And during that period, I also got to know that I was thrown into premenopause, because during my whole time when I was diagnosed, I didn't had any questions. As I mentioned, I was numb, I was quiet. And later on with time, I realized that I need to check what's happening with I need to have a checkup with the fertility specialist. And when I got to know this, that because of my harsh chemo and my body was so sick during that time, that I was thrown into early menopause. And now I'm going through a stem cell transplant, which is again an aggressive treatment. So there's no chance of getting my fertility back. So that whole thing actually, made me like, what I'm doing, like what my life is completely taken away. Like I don't have anything, and I don't feel or hope that anything will change after this. So I was just going down every day, like, with all these challenges, with all these treatment, with all these, and still fevers were coming. So, there was nothing changing for me. Like, but the one thing which I had was a support of my family, of my loved ones. And then finally, the day came where they wanted to do a stem cell transplant. It was supposed to be happen in March 2020, and then COVID hit, global pandemic, COVID hit. Things changed everywhere. There was no visitor policy in hospital, and I was in a different city that time. So right, currently I'm in Calgary, but that time I was in Edmonton, which is 3 hours drive from Calgary. And my team, the healthcare team, decided that the stem cell transplant will happen in Calgary, and I need to go there, stay there for 100 days till the time my stem cell is completed.
So
But
Harjeet,
because,
you
yeah,
know, let's pause you here because this is quite a bit. And anyone listening to this, they may understand that feeling of hopelessness, as you go into this process, going into January, right? And now, oh my goodness, lymphoma may be in my eye. You're already trying to get the momentum to fight, right? You're trying to get the hope and the momentum of fighting back with this cancer, the stem cell. But now all these hurdles, all these obstacles seem to continue to come and fall in front of you, and then to top it all off, like we're talking about here, March, it's the pandemic, and now it's just another hurdle. So how did you find the strength or the comfort or the hope to move forward in a period when it just seems so hopeless?
I think from my mind, I was just losing hope. But the strength came within the family. I mean, the support. the strength and, that thing that I can do it for them. And it was making me feel that, I'll be able to do it for them at least because they had that hope on me. But in my mind, I was just losing everything, one or the other, every step, it was different, And by the time when I was into stem cell transplant, I actually thought that I'm not coming back from here because COVID hit and I was supposed to go to the hospital, stay there for 35 days under isolation, getting that treatment by myself without my support, without my family. So that was the moment when I was dropped at the hospital for stem cell transplant. I hugged them and I felt that this is the last time I'm seeing them. And I'm not coming from this because I felt that this whole time I was with them and I had that strength within me because of them. And now they're not with me. So I don't know how will I survive without them. So I lost it. I actually felt that I'm not coming back from my stem cell transplant. And honestly, when I was entering the hospital, I felt this that this would be the last day I'm seeing them. And I entered the hospital on 7th of April 2020. I had my stem cell on 14th of April. I was given my brother's stem cell on 14th of April. From 7th until 14th, I had everyday chemo and radiation. And the process of stem cell was to kill my immune system so that they could give me my brother's stem cell. And those 35 days were really challenging for me. I still get goosebumps when I think about that because I don't know how I got that strength during that 35 days. Every day I was just living with the hope and faith that I could see next morning. I could see my family next morning. We used to do FaceTime. There was time that I was so sick. I was so much in pain due to stem cell transplant that I was on painkiller pumps. I was on pain pumps. And I didn't realize that how my day or night was going. There was time that I was not even able to talk because I was on feeding tube, I was on oxygen pipe, and my husband used to FaceTime with my oncologist because every day they used to update on my health. And so those 35 days, I really don't want to go back to those days. Those was really difficult for me. And when I was there at that time, I used to watch all my memories, old memories, and I realized that I need to write my journey. I need to write my experience, my pain I felt during this whole 1.5 year where I was just keeping everything inside. It was so much for my mental health. And we went the whole family went through so much and we never talked about cancer, how the diagnosis has been done, what was the experience, how we were feeling that time. So all those things came up to my mind when I was there all alone in the room, where I felt that I need to write my journey for my family, for my husband. So if I'm not going back from here, at least they can read and experience my pain I felt through this all journey and how grateful I was to have them. So that's the whole thing. Like, and after stem cell, 100 days are tough for the patient because you can get catch any infection, graft versus host disease, and it was COVID. So I was completely bedridden after stem cell. It took me a lot of time. My mother, my husband, they did take care of me like a baby. I was just a newborn because I had a stem cell of my brother. And I remember 14th of April when nurses came into the room and they wished me happy rebirth day because I was given his stem cell. So my body technically or medically is right now 4 years old because I have like a 4 years old kid's stem cells. So it has been a long journey, honestly, Kenny. I mean, 4 years down the line, I'm here, I'm living, I'm just not surviving, I'm thriving every day. And life is a gift to me. Life gave me a second chance. Not everyone gets that. And during this whole journey, the only thing which I felt was lacking between my family and us was a communication about cancer. And I think that's the stigma in our community, like, because people see cancer in a different way, right? In our community, people think that cancer is a dead end, or the road which ends. And so there were so many things which I felt during my journey and post journey too. No one actually told me that what would be the symptoms look like after cancer. No one told me that I would be thrown into early menopause, or I'll lose my right eye vision, and then I'll have side effects of stem cell and chemo for lifelong. So, navigating through those challenges was not easy for me, but it took a lot of time. And but I'm grateful that I am here right now, like living a second chance. So,
Well, not only that, you know, for those that lose hope and those that can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, like yourself, you were in this getting ready to have stem cell. You felt that you were not going to make it or come out of that. But somehow, through all of that darkness, you found a way to bring some light. One is that you thought about writing, right? Writing this journey down for your family and what so they can understand what you were feeling. That came from you. Another thing that you gave you the hope is that your support team was there believing in you. And as I'm listening to you, whether or not they knew this was going to be successful or not, they were still giving you the support. And
yeah,
so the 35 days that you're in this darkness, I heard you say you took it one day at a time.
yeah,
And so it can be overwhelming. It sounds like, that if you think about it from a whole big perspective, it can be overwhelming. But
yeah,
somehow within yourself, it sounds like you found a way to break it down into day increments,
yeah,
in- increments.
yeah. Every day I was just hoping to look for a second the next morning, right? The next day, so that I could see my family. I could not speak much because of the feeding tube, but I could see them on FaceTime, and I can hear them. So that gave me hope for every day to to be there for the next morning, because it was so tough. And as I mentioned, that I don't want to go back to that darkness. If someone tells me today that, do you want to go back to that place? No, I can't. I feel scared. I still have those goosebumps when I talk about it, especially the stem cell transplant journey, because it was difficult for me and my family too. Because after year or so, when I had this conversation with my husband, we actually talked about it. Like, were you hoping to see me back? I said, no, I was not. So that's the thing, right? Because, and that's how I felt like, my story about spreading awareness about my journey, and, talking about it, because I don't want anyone outside to feel alone in this journey. And it's so important to talk about your journey so that you can support and provide hope and resilience to others who are going through this journey. And since last 1.5 year, my journey of being an advocate or being a speaker, or talking about my journey, has become more important for me, because I feel that I'm spreading hope around this. And people reach out to me now because they feel that they get that motivation, they get that empowerment from my journey. They feel that, there is life after cancer. People can navigate their life after cancer. It's not easy. I mean, I do have bad days. I do get emotion some days. I do feel that I've lost so many things. But then on the other hand, I feel like I'm blessed and I'm grateful for this life. And life is a gift for me. It's a second chance I got. So yeah, so it's not been easy for anyone. Like, cancer doesn't affect you, it affects your whole family, right? So, and secondly, being a stigma or a taboo in my community, in South Asian community, is also one thing which I noticed last last 1.5 year when I went back to India after 5 years, after COVID and cancer, and I felt that no one actually wanted to know about what my family went through, what we went through, what I went through, because they don't know, first, they don't know how to speak about it, what to say, and then it's always a taboo in our community where they don't want to talk about it. They just want to move on with things. And cancer is something which will remain in you. I think you just have to accept it as your new normal. And then you have to embrace it, like the things which I've come across.
Why do you think there's such a taboo about cancer? What's your opinion on that? And why do you feel people don't want to talk about that? Because when it comes to other things, right? We talk about maybe high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, or you know, everyone talks so freely about it. But what do you think the stigma is with cancer?
So, so I don't know if you know much about South Asian community, but it's just not cancer. It's any kind of illness, whether it's mental illness, health illness, or domestic violence. There are a few factors which are never talked. And since we are in, this generation and still it's a taboo. And cancer, especially because, like, obviously other factors too, but cancer because people think that cancer is the dead end, you know, diagnosed with stage 4 or diagnosed with any type of cancer, people always have that thing, oh, cancer, she has cancer or he has cancer, and that sympathy and that thing, and then oh, that person might not survive because she had cancer, right? And so those are the factors, especially, and few things which I came across during my journey in few countries or cities, cancer is still treated as a bad karma. And when I, go deep down into it and read about it more, I feel like it's need to be addressed. It's a health issue. Like you said, that, any kind of health illness are being talked about. Why don't we talk about cancer? Why don't we spread awareness? Why don't we educate people that how we can prevent ourselves from early detection or talking about it? And when it comes to your health, we need to be our own advocates. So there's no wrong or right thing to do when, if there is some health issue or health problem, if you go through something, you can talk about it.
Yes.
So, and that's why I feel like, cancer needs to be talked. It needs to be addressed and spread awareness and educate people about it's okay if you have cancer, you can go through it, but you need that support within the family. I have actually, honestly, Kenny, when I started with talking about it through my community and, doing some interviews through the radio channels, people didn't even take the name. They said that it's a problem. So imagine not taking a name of cancer itself is a big thing.
They don't even want to say the word cancer.
Yeah, I
Like,
came across few people who actually said it's a problem. And
yeah.
imagine not saying a word cancer. Imagine what the person who's going through it, what that person would be feeling. That did she did something wrong or did he did something wrong, that you know he had to have this or she had to have this. So that's the thing. Why are we not talking about it? And cancer is not stopping, and it doesn't discriminate at all. Like, it doesn't see you're white, brown, black, what. When I was diagnosed and when I joined support groups, I didn't see a lot of people with my color. And I felt the same thing. I felt, why it's just me? It's not right. Something is not right. And that's how it started. Like, that's how the whole thing started, with the taboo and the stigma. And when I spoke in one of the conferences last year about this, so it was one person just stood up and she said it's right. And that's how we connected. And we started a page on Facebook, a private group, which is called Chai and Hope for South Asian Cancer Community. We just wanted to build that safe space where people can come and talk if they are feeling alone in their journey. They might have the support system like I had, but they might not be able to talk to them about what they are feeling. And they're already going through so many challenges, right? Treatment, mental illness, physical appearance. There are so many factors involved to it. And on top of it, if someone tells you it's a problem, then you are just making that person losing help, making that person losing hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's difficult.
Well, I tell you what, Harjeet, you are not only putting a a a blocking point in this idea that cancer is, this whole death sentence. You are thriving. You're a person who has stage 4 cancer, who had stage 4 cancer and was on the verge of giving up, losing hope. And yet here you are today, 4 years more later, helping other individuals, helping them to see that, guess what? Not only did you not lose to cancer, you're still here and you're advocating to help other individuals, people in your community, people who don't even want to say the word cancer because it's that taboo to them. You're giving another side of this. And what more can we ask for? That is a blessing in itself. So continue thriving and continue being an advocate and empowering others because we all need that. We need that in this community. So thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your strength. And thank you for helping us to appreciate what it's like to go through something like this, and at the same time conquer conquer it. So let me ask you this question. Life before, I always say that life before you were doing what? You were doing what before the diagnosis in your life?
So as I mentioned that I moved to Canada, so I was working in Dubai before this. So I had a different life all over before this, and I was working in Dubai as a sales manager with the IT travel sales, and then I moved to Canada looking for a job with a similar profile, but then I got to work with Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. So I was working there as a sales representative, and I was doing events and engaging with the local community. And yeah, I didn't work a lot in Canada because of the diagnosis, but now things have become different. Like, I've accepted that this is my new normal, and my passion towards spreading awareness and talking about cancer and doing or bringing change in the community is something I want to do now. So I'm
Yes.
hoping that, I could embrace this new things in my life. And I'm happy, honestly, I'm happy where I am right now. As mentioned before, there are bad days, there are good days, but I take it every day slowly. So yeah.
So how do you see life now? You know, coming out of all of those challenges, coming out of all of that darkness, now into this light, into this advocacy world. What is how do you see things now?
So I feel like life is never perfect for anyone. It's never, and it's never same for anyone. There are so many uncertainties in life. Like I never expected that my life would completely change in a new country. So I take life in a very different way, and I take every day as a gift. I see every day as a gift, and it's just that being there, I know how difficult it was to me to survive every day. So for me, as I mentioned before, for me, life is a gift, and I take it every day slowly. I listen to my body, I listen to my health, and I do it what I feel like. And I enjoy it. I enjoy every moment of my life, and I'm grateful for it.
What would you say to someone who may be experiencing that hopelessness right now? Someone who may feel that there is no light at the end of the tunnel and uncertainty is just overwhelming them. What would you say to those individuals who are listening?
For people who are going through this, honestly, I know it's difficult this time, but there are always support groups. There are always people out there. There are communities out there whom you can reach out and talk. And talking is healing. I mean, if you feel like that you're feeling hopeless or if you're feeling helpless, you can reach out to multiple support groups, especially within the cancer community. There are so many people out there who are ready to talk, who are ready to support you. When I was coming out through my journey through stem cell, when I felt that, I'm completely bedridden, I'm so dependent and burdened on my family, I actually reached out to the support groups because I wanted to talk to that single person who has gone through a similar diagnosis and who could actually feel what I'm going through and understand me. So I feel like if you're feeling something like that, please reach out. There's no harm in asking for help. There's no harm in asking for help. And you don't have to deal with this all by yourself. If you don't have a family, friends, there are support groups, there are communities out there. So please make sure that you ask for help.
Well said. Well said, Harjit. And for those that don't know, there is something called cancer coaching, and that's something that I do. You'll be able to come speak with those feelings that you may not feel other people understand, or you may not feel
Yeah,
that you understand.
yeah,
So cancer coaching is something that is real. It's something that is now being developed. And you can always find me at alltalkoncology.com and we can talk about it. We can book a call, book a session, because as Harjet said, you don't have to go through this alone.
yeah.
You're in this
And
together.
yeah, you said it well. Like, as people like you are there to support them, right? And people like me or other support groups are there to talk about it. And I do feel it's important. People have reached out to me, Kenny, from few different worlds where they felt that they don't have someone to talk. And I do talk to them just to give them that, hope and just to listen to them because sometimes you just need to listen to other person, right? So yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So what is life like now for Harjet? You're out here, you're being an advocate, you're thriving. Do you have any goals, any plans and vacations? Like how do you celebrate life now?
I just celebrated my 4 years. I just completed my 4 years. I'm a 4 years old now. Yeah. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So that's what I celebrate every victory of my life, right? So, and the goals, as I mentioned, I go day by day. So because life is so uncertain for me, I do get that scans every year. So that anxiety is always there. But I want to live, thrive. I want to obviously travel and, have certain goals to do something for my South Asian cancer community, to have that focus group where I could actually be the voice for those patients. So, yeah, I mean, they step by step.
Yes, I love it. And the glow on your face now, it says it all, and just coming back. And if you guys don't know, she just came back from a 2-day conference and she's out here, she's advocating. And that's the part we love about her. So continue thriving because we love to see that and we
Thank
love to give
you.
back. Yes. It was a pleasure having you on our show. And before we let you go, is there any last things you would like to say to those listening?
People, if you want to reach out to me, if you have any questions, I do have my Instagram open for people to reach out. It's HK Thriver. And I have my complete blog and my articles, my journey on a link tree on a bio. So please feel free to reach out. And if you know any South Asian who is going through this and they want to chat about it, we have a page, Chai and Hope, for South Asian Cancer Community on Facebook. So feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to help and support.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harjet Kaur, thank you so much for joining us here at All Talk Oncology. It was a pleasure having you, and we look forward to seeing you continue to thrive in your life.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
So stay connected with us on All Talk Oncology.
Cancer podcast. Make sure you subscribe to that, right? Wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, make sure you subscribe and continue to spread that word, right? Engage in this because your engagement can help someone stay alive. And this is what we're talking about. So again, make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button. Again, this is Kenny Perkins, aka your Cancer Guy. Until again, I'm out.